More calls for peace and safety. My name is Daniel Vallis from InformedChristians.com, a website ministry devoted to discerning current events from a Christian perspective. Today we're going to look at how peace and safety is becoming the buzzwords and topic that we should be watching for. Now this is only a watch, it is not a prediction. We've been looking at the Bible's warnings concerning peace and safety. And in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, it says, "But of the times and the seasons, brethren, I have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all the children of light, and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch and be sober." Peace and safety. Those are the buzzwords that we're told to listen for. We're supposed to watch and listen. If you aren't watching and paying attention to what's going on in the world, if you don't have an understanding of the time, you will miss these calls for peace and safety. That's why we are commanded to watch. Because when these buzzwords are heard, peace and safety, those topics becoming prevalent, then sudden destruction cometh. It's a warning. It's a heads up. And if you aren't watching, that day will overtake you as a thief. Scripture lays that out in plain English right there. But notice what it says about peace and safety. For when they shall say, who is they? It's not the prophecy teachers saying peace and safety. It's not the pastor saying peace and safety. It's not the Christians, the children of light. It's not them saying peace and safety. It is the children of darkness saying peace and safety. When we see the enemy saying peace and safety in the public arenas and through the media and all the messaging, when we see them saying peace and safety, that's what should catch our attention. And that is what we've been watching and detailing with our various videos and timelines over the past few days and weeks. Peace and safety has very recently come to the forefront in a very marked way. Verse 6 reminds us, "Therefore let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch and be sober." When we see all these signs of peace and safety, when we see that being trumpeted in the news, now is when we need to be focused and paying attention the most and setting aside anything that might distract us. There's going to be plenty of Christians sleeping, not paying attention, not caring, and they will be caught unawares. We've been chronicling various events that have been happening day by day and with some review, and there's a lot of symbolism, and we've seen it definitely pick up in activity ever since Halloween. And on Halloween was that particular Russian plane bombing. And that really kicked into high gear the calls for safety regarding terrorism, brought to attention the refugee situation and Muslims, and a lot of people had the jitters all of a sudden, and rightfully so. But that was one of the more prominent days that started bringing it to people's attention more, the idea of safety. And then on the 13th was the Paris events, and we've been talking a lot about the symbolism of why that is so important and has fingerprints all over it. It happened in the UN Year of Light, right during the Festival of Light. It's the City of Light, birthplace of the Enlightenment, and it's known for its sordid history with beheadings too as well. Here's something to think about though. How many people died in the Paris event, and how many people died in the Russian plane bombing? More people died in the plane bombing than in the Paris events. But why does the Paris event get all the attention? Why are all the buildings around the world being lit up in specific colors? Because of the Paris event. Because the messaging is in the Paris event at that timing. It's all deliberate. It's all controlled. The Paris events is when we noticed the peace and safety definitely being pushed across the mainstream media and all the venues, really being brought and combining these two concepts, peace and safety. And right away, Twitter hashtags on social media, people started talking about pray for peace, peace, and these particular buzzwords were suddenly pushed into the public's front consciousness, so to speak. On Twitter, you can see how just the peace hashtag alone just went through the roof on that day. Pray for peace hashtag went over several 100,000. Terrorists, people started talking about terrorists, hundreds of thousands of people talking about. And this is just Twitter. You know, a lot of people don't use Twitter. But you think of how many people saw it on the news and were talking about these same subjects with their family and friends and coworkers and all that. So this is just giving us an inkling of, on that day, these subjects, peace and safety, both went through the roof. Peace, just on Twitter, the peace hashtag went over 600,000. The buzzwords literally of peace. Suddenly people all over the world were talking about it. And in context of safety and security and terrorism. And then at the same time, a false symbol of peace came out, the broken cross variation. And that came out, and that was blasted all over the news and social media, and that became associated with the Paris events. Peace symbol, peace hashtags, peace, peace, peace. So we can point to a specific historical time chronicled when peace was really pushed and became prominent in the news. Very recently, with peace and safety, off the charts, no doubt. Then the Pope gets on the news the next day and talks about how the Paris attacks are part of a piecemeal World War III. Right when everyone is jittery about terrorism and even war with everything going on in geopolitical events in Syria and all that, he pushes the idea of World War III, a piecemeal World War III in this context. Peace and safety. The very next day, hours later, peace and safety. And then on the 18th, the Pepsi film came out. And that had so many symbols of peace and a bunch of other symbols in it too, but it definitely, no doubt, pushed at least 5 symbols of peace. And that's what the whole theme of the music and supposedly the whole purpose of them making it was, to push peace, worldwide peace. Just a few days after the Paris events, all these things are closely related. Pepsi, $1 billion some company promoting this film. You know, last I checked, just on YouTube, they had almost 2 million views just for this film that they made. And that's not even counting how many other distribution venues that they've pushed it out through. Pepsi's throwing their weight behind it. Again, just like they did for the halftime show with that same linked symbolism. We have the Pope talking about peace and war. We have Pepsi, one of the major corporations in the world, promoting peace now too. We have major events in Paris pushing peace and symbols and hashtags, all that. Are you listening? Do you have an ear to hear? And even in the following days after the Paris event, the world is still jittery. There's terrorist suspicions, and Brussels, even today France, their assembly voted to extend the state of emergency for 3 months. And I thought this particular picture was very interesting. And Brussels still on high alert for terrorism scare there. The world is jittery. They are still talking about terrorism and safety and peace, even now. On the 21st, this is very important, the UN called for the world to fight ISIS as the Security Council unanimously adopts a French-drafted resolution. It states that ISIS constitutes a global and unprecedented threat to international peace and security. The UN, in addition to all the other major players who've been touting peace and safety. All this in just a few days. These are all connected. And then on Sunday, the Pope gets up and he talks about how Christmas this year is going to be a charade because the whole world is at war, pushing the idea of war. People have no safety right now. And he talks about it's all a charade. The world has not understood the way of peace. The whole world is at war. He combines these two ideas. So he does it from his Sunday Mass, which is a very public venue. The Pope, the Vatican, all the power and prestige that goes with there, the UN, Pepsi, the events in Paris. You almost can't get any greater venues to promote these ideas and be saying peace and safety than the people who are saying peace and safety right now. That should wake us up. Are you listening? They are saying peace and safety, just like Scripture warns us. And then that means that sudden destruction is coming. And we must pay attention, and we must, like the verse says, let us not sleep, as do others. Don't worry about what other people are doing. You serve Christ first and foremost and highest above all else. How can you be like the wise virgins who are waiting for the return of the bridegroom? Watch our video, The Letters to the 7 Churches, where Jesus Christ tells his bride what he is looking for when he returns. Watch and be sober. Maranatha.